Remember back, way back, to the early days of the Reaper of Souls. Crusaders were the kings of shield throwing, doing their best to impersonate Captain America. Over time, items and sets were introduced or changed to benefit other skills in the game. Now with common double, triple, and quadruple damage output of skills, Blessed Shield was left behind with no support. But fear no more, I am here to change that. Behold my Blessed Shield Bash Roland Crusader Pizza Box Thrower of Doom! I always loved the Shield Throw Crusader gameplay and wanted to make something work again. Now, as a forward, this is not a blitzing build that will storm higher graded rifts, nor will you be able to do T6 rifts quickly. This is just a fun build to satisfy your shield throwing needs. I'll start off explaining the gear requirements. First, the Gerfalcon Foot. Now, this is the calamity of one-handed flails, so this will be the hardest item to get, but it is absolutely important that you get this item or you will be wrath-starved like no other and the build won't work. Next, we have the 6-piece Roland set. I chose to use the Royal Ring of Grandeur and pair it up with a Cinder Coat for fire cost reduction. More on that later. A Vigilante Belt for cooldown reduction. For bracers, I use Reaper Wraps for gaining resource from health globes. Amulet is a Blackthorns, but you can pretty much use any amulet here with main stat, crit hit damage, and a socket. Ideally, you want a Hellfire with an appropriate passive, or an immunity affix, or just any other amulet that has a better affix on it. For rings, I chose a Unity to pair with my follower and their invulnerable token. This gives me 50% damage reduction in solo games. For group play, you can swap out for something like a Firestone to Jordan. You'll also want crit hit damage, main stat, and a socket on these items ideally, but some you might not be able to get that same combination on it. And then finally for the shield, I'm using the Pyro Morella. You might wonder why I'm using a Pyro over a Jecking board. Well, 6-piece set of Rolands gives you 20% attack speed for each cast of Shield Bash, and this stacks up to 5 times for a total of 100% attack speed boost. Shield Bash and fire cost reduction help keep the bash cost low, and since the foot does not generate resources, I'm depending entirely on passive Wrath regen, resource cost reduction, and health globes for resources to keep the 100% attack speed buff rolling. Since Roland's does not allow you to permanent Necrats champions easily, you're also getting a pretty big defensive hit. I also chose to stack cooldown reduction. This allows me to have the Prophet rune, which gives me 150% additional armor, up more often. It also gives me shorter cooldowns on my Law, which is a 50% cost reduction, and Shield Glare, which I use to generate resources. I'm using Fire Runes for both Blessed Shield and Shield Bash to benefit from the plus fire damage, and Shield Bash benefits from the cost reduction of the Cinder Coat, as I mentioned before. I round this all off with Steed Charge just to get out of sticky situations. For passives, I run Finery for a DPS and toughness gain. Tarring Shield gives me 20% bonus damage on my Shield Bash and Blessed Shield. Fervor gives me 15% more cooldown and 15% attack speed while using a one-handed flail. My 4th passive, I use Indestructible right now because I'm in hardcore and I don't want to die. But the basic concept of the build is to enter with your Law active, get 5 stacks of the Roland buff, and then spam your Blessed Shield. When your Roland buff is about 3/4 expired, cast a Shield Bash to refresh it. When you have a lot of Wrath, you can spam Shield Bash if you like for single target damage, but remember to keep enough Wrath in reserve to maintain your buff. I typically found out that Blessed Shield works really good for AoE clearing, and then Shield Bash works when you only have one guy left. For Paragon points, cooldown reduction, resist, cost reduction are pretty big, but you'll eventually want to have crit hit damage, armor regen, life on hit, and area damage down the road. For legendary gems, I suggest Gogok, as you gain 15% increased attack speed and cooldown reduction from this. Since you're getting up close and personal with this build, I would suggest a Bane of the Trapped, as all enemies hit should be within your slow range and take more damage. The last gem is also a bit more open. Bane of the Powerful if you're killing elites fast enough. Pain Enhancer can give you the dot and more attack speed. Gem of the Toxin will just give you a straight DPS boost and put a long duration dot on the guys. Wreath of Lightning is if you want a little bit of lightning damage and to get a movement speed boost. You could also use Boon of the Hoarder and Gold Wrap to keep your toughness up. And that's about it, really. There's nothing too complex, but this build will give you double the effectiveness of a standard Blessed Shield build with a little more interactivity. Something I feel that was lacking with the previous builds. I just really wish that the foot generated resources to be more in line with the Crider Shot and match the rarity. This would really pretty much open the build up because it wouldn't require a fire build, wouldn't require a Cinder Coat or the Pyro Shield to generate the Wrath, and keep the Roland buff up. Hope you enjoy playing around with this build, and like the shit out of this video if you enjoy the Blessed Shield Crusader as much as I do. Just let me know if there's any changes that you would do with this build, anything you feel I might have missed, or if you have any questions about it. You can subscribe to the channel and you'll be updated when I put out more videos. I also stream on Twitch if you're into that kind of thing. The link is in the description below. Until then, keep on keeping on. Thanks for watching and have a good day.